you do all this ukemi and you're really damn strict with yourself and you make damn sure you get it as clean as possible, and then falling ceases to be as traumatic as it might be. Falling is one of the main jobs we ask uke to do. And it is a deadly job. It is lethal serious, and you got to be very, very meticulous about it. But eventually it gets pretty normal, and you're kind of used to it, and it feels fairly comfortable. And you need to get there if you can. Now, some people can't. Some people have been traumatized in falls when they were younger. Some people just have psychological issues around falling, which are real issues. It's one of the primal fears of man, right along with fire and
snakes.
Falling and fire and
drowning, suffocation.
Suffocation, yeah. It does trigger survival instinct, whoa, kind of stuff. So, and it goes way back to when we were little kids learning to walk. There's a lot of stuff imprinted in our early memory about falling that can get in the way. And people take bad falls when they're kids, and man, it comes back to haunt you. You're trying to do a part like this. So there's a lot of stuff, and some people, it's just not appropriate. Their bodies can no longer do that. And so they're just not going to be into the falling group. But as much as you can afford to get yourself into the groove, as much as you can physically be capable and psychologically capable of doing, this is where you need to invest yourself deep, deep, deep. You invest yourself deep, deep, deep here, among other reasons, because it's where you're going to do the main job of imprinting really clear technique. As long as you're looking at techniques and whatnot from the outside, say, hey, I want to be able to do this to the guy, like you're looking in a book and looking at the pictures and trying to recreate it. You're doing it from an external point of view, and you're trying to work from this positive image and replicate that positive image. You're actually only getting a very limited band of knowledge, because why? That's all visual. And the visual thing really only applies up until the point of contact. At the point of contact with the other human body, you might as well be able to close your eyes and forget about your eyes. It's really all tactile. And the part of the mechanism of doing Aikido that does the tactile job, that gets the information and gets the whole information about off balance and timing of off balance and what's going on in the human body and these weakness of lines of off balance, is uke. That's where we feel it. That's where we get the tactile information, and that's what informs our practice from the uke side, and then becomes like a photographic negative to inform us from the positive side as tori. So you feel it a lot as uke. Many, many, many times you feel the going off balance and out of control and then into a fall, or going off balance, recovery of balance, not into a fall. A bunch of times, it imprints in your nervous system, and then you're able to do it to other people in that same smooth way. If you've got really smooth people throwing you and taking you off balance over and over and over again, you will imprint really smooth mechanisms in your own nervous system. If you have people that are a little herky-jerky, or adding pain, or adding extra extraneous mechanisms to it, that's what you're going to imprint. And that kind of clutters up the signal. And so ideally, our tores are working with minimal pressure and perfect timing just behind the other person. And they're working just inside or smaller than the other person's movement. And they're giving you a really clear signal to read. And you're not interfering with it in your body. You're able to sort of relax with the process of being taken off balance into these weaknesses and these vulnerabilities that are real human vulnerabilities. Relax enough with them to take a natural fall without adding energy, without extra punch or extra kick or extra jump or extra acceleration, and dissipate that energy gently into the floor as best you can with minimal chance of injury to you. Over and over and over and over and over and over. And lo and behold, after a while, that same feel that you've been feeding off of as uke comes out of your nervous system. You lay hands on them and you feel it a few times, you grab somebody and you can do it. It's like magic. Almost impossible to get the feel without feeling it from the uke side. You can replicate the pictures in the book and kind of get the mechanisms of, well, you push them like this and you grab them like that and you twist this and throw them down. And it'll be the same picture, and you may tear people up with it to some degree, but it'll never be smooth. It won't have the sweet spot. It won't be the delicate impossible thing. It'll be a kind of a herky-jerky slam-bang thing because the timing will be random and the feel of it will be arbitrary. It's be something, a fantasy in your head that you're applying to those pictures in the book. So we learn it from the internalization of uke. You got to get comfortable enough with falling and have clean enough falls to be able to relax in off balance. So that when off balance is, when you're taken, you're not struggling and fighting against it at the same time. You can't fight a fall and take a clean fall at the same time.
No.
You cannot fall cleanly and try to fight to not fall and do both at the once. You really have to take a clean fall and just take a clean fall. Period. As much as is possible for you. And that's, again, that internal process. So all of this is leading towards really being able to relax enough to imprint the feel correctly. You become a really fine uke. You have a very clear signal coming in. You don't interfere with that signal in your own nervous system by adding extra junk and trying to, well, I'm stopping this and trying to force that, and you can't get me. It's because the thing where, oh, I'm attacking them, then they can't get me thing, that's kind of a passive-aggressive attack, you know? I'm going to fight you, but, oh, you can't get me. Well, it's kind of nuts. You need clean deliveries of energy, and you need clean responses over and over and over again. Crystal clear. And over time, they can get more chaotic. They can get more difficult. You can work with people that are, yeah, tighter and tighter. It's hard to get inside their timing, or it's hard to get inside the size of their movement, or people will start giving you challenges. Some people just do it all the time, but your partners, yeah, you can start working and making the parameters more like you're picking up the 95-pound weight. And the next time, oh, I'm going to have to pick up the 96-pound weight, you know. You're adding extra chaotic conditions that are acting like resistance over time, incrementally. And when you hit failure, back off to what works again. Back off. Be able to dial it up and down. Your ukes should be able, and yourself as uke, should be able to dial up all this kind of resistance and dampening effect and dial it back down so that it's pristine and there's zero interference. And then when they need to, they can crank it up and be the biggest pain in the ass you've ever seen. And then they can turn it back off at will. And you know that, and you know that. Anybody who's done much judo knows that. Well, most of people that have done competitive judo don't know it because they just do the full resistance the whole time. But if they've worked on judo kata or they've worked in really fine Aikido kata, you build these basic mechanisms in yourself. And it's from the uke side. And like we said yesterday, uke side is where you're getting the potential to be resilient, to come back under pressure, and to dissipate force in a variety of skillful ways. So as force is acting on you, you may dissipate it with a fall. You may dissipate it with a step. You may dissipate it by changing the vectors in your body and putting it down into the earth. You may dissipate that force acting upon you by just slipping it and coming in for counterattack. You may dissipate it as they're acting upon you to make a countering action. So they're trying to twist your arm off, and suddenly that thing that they're trying to twist turns into a throw. And it throws them with the thing they're trying to twist on. So my teacher Carl was very famous for saying, hey, why don't you do double kotegaeshi? Just come and get me. And as you grab a hold of his two wrists, and you go to town trying to do your kotegaeshi on him, he's throwing you with your own kotegaeshi. And it's like, where'd that come from? He's completely, you know, he can't do that. Yeah, he can. Because it has nothing to do with this twist. It has nothing to do with this twist. It has nothing to do with this twist. Those are incidental connection points. It all has to do with what's happening in the center. Sometimes the center's stepping and we think, oh, it all has to do with the step. And yeah, most of the time it does have to do with the step. Because very few people on earth are going to have a big-ass fight with you standing still. But some people are very wary. Some people, hey, I'm going to move, but I'm going to be very limited in my movement. They're not going to take any step they don't have to take. And so you do have to be able to work within those even more tighter parameters. That exists too. Cool? So uke is kind of the secret weapon. Uke is going to save your ass when you take the fall out the back of the pickup truck. We got an 82-year-old gal at my place, Lida Long. She just came into our barbecue party last week and she said, Aikido saved my life again. I said, what? She said, 82, old retired doctor. She went off a 20-inch high concrete curb on her side in a side fall, landed, and all she had was a scrape on her hand. Got up and just carried on with her day. And I would like to find the stats on how many 82-year-olds took a fall off of 20 inches high, landed on concrete, and just got up and went on about their business, except they had a scrape and they had to put a peroxide on it. I imagine it's a very small number. And she never took a whole bunch of ukemi to start with, because she started at the age of like 70-something. She took just enough to kind of get okay with it. So it was there, but she didn't pound herself on the ground, because at 70-something, you just don't pound yourself on the ground very much anymore, you know. But she did just enough. She did enough. She stayed around it, and she didn't fight it. She just did what she could. And man, walk in and save your life, because that's usually a broken hip, broken arm, broken shoulder, broken hip, maybe a broken neck. And that's usually hospital, and then you lay in the hospital, and then you get the pneumonia. And then you're 80 in the hospital with a broken hip with the pneumonia, and it's affecting your heart. So it kills a lot of folks, basically. It's a downhill slide. It's real easy to go off the edge of the earth at that point. So I think she's right. I think it did save her life a little bit. We've seen that kind of ukemi happen. We've seen people go off the top of 13, 14-foot trucks and float through the air and wind up in a side fall position on a concrete floor. And that's happened too to another one of my fellows. He wasn't 82, he was in his 40s at the time. And he said when he went off the top of that truck, he slipped. He was on the top of a tank truck, and it was greasy. His foot went out from under him, and he had one of those racks with the pitchforks and the shovels and shit. And he started falling into that. It was like, oh, hell. And he pushed so he wasn't impaled. And when he pushed, he's off the side of the truck now. And the deck of that truck's 13 feet high. So his head is probably 6 feet above that. As he goes off, his center of gravity is probably somewhere in the 15, 16-foot range. 32 feet tends to kill people on average. You take a fall from 32 feet, typically you die. So he fell from about half of death, basically. He said he went out into space and he looked at the ground and he went, oh no. And he knew something in him, all he knew to do was close his eyes and just tuck and get in a round shape. He said if I left my eyes open, I was going to watch the ground and it was going to come up and kill me. So what I just closed my eyes and tucked. And he said he rotated some. He doesn't know how many he rotated as he tumbled through air, but he wound up in a side fall position. Bam! He was in his shop, in his big construction shop. He landed on the concrete floor in a bunch of floor sweep, and he opened his eyes, and he's inside of a mushroom cloud of his floor sweep. And he got up and had a Pepsi. He was sore as hell. That's a huge amount of impact. You might as well have a car accident. You know, that's a bad shock to the system. But there was no broken bones. There was no internal organ damage. He was really sore on that side of his body for about 3 or 4 days. But it's a hell of a lot better than half dead. You know what I mean? And to his credit, he'd done a huge amount of judo, taken a lot of falls, and that was intensive. So results will vary. Your mileage may vary. Please be careful. I hope if you ever have to go off a 13-foot thing, your results are just as good, if not better. But, you know, I'm not going to stand here and say, oh, yeah, you'll be fine. It's a scary damn thing. That's half near dead. You know? But it does come out of a type of ukemi where you are thrown involuntarily, a lot, out of control, and you just have to learn to let go, relax, and take the ride. You're on the roller coaster, give up control, relax with it, let the center of gravity do its thing, let your inner ear do its thing, have a little faith that your whole process is going to get there, and shazam, he's at the bottom of it looking up inside a mushroom cloud. Kaboom. Go have a Pepsi. Another friend of mine, Greg Abels, the most amazing uke I've ever had the privilege of working with. And I don't think he minds too much. He used to drink. He doesn't drink anymore. But he used to drink a little bit. We grew up together. I know him really well. And he told me this story. He was out drinking, and he was riding on his bicycle on his way home, which was stupid. Drunk driving on a bicycle doesn't help. It's just slower. So he was inebriated and driving his bicycle home to get to the house. It's late at night. And he runs into a tree branch or something that gets tangled up in the front wheel of his bicycle because he doesn't have a light, right? And this thing's in the road, and he just gets into it. And his front wheel locks up, and he goes over the handlebars in the air. And he said he went over the handlebars in the air, and he's like, oh, hell. And somewhere in the process of that accelerated throw, his hand brushed the ground. It just got a little bit of contact with one hand or the other as his body's tumbling. And his entire body took that little point of contact and reoriented like a cat, and he landed on his toes and his fingers, just like a cat pouncing back to the ground. He said it was the damnedest thing he'd ever done. He had a little touch, he's tumbling, he's in this chaotic, where the hell did this come from? He's upside down, finger touches, his whole body just, and he lands, 2 feet, 2 hands, and lowered himself down like a push-up. Looked around like, whoa, what the hell was that? You know, gets up, gets the branch, and pushes his bike home. I hope that's what he did. He didn't tell me the end. He might have jumped back on it for all I know. But yeah, you get these amazing survival stories from ukemi, and they're like nothing else. And ukemi is a secret weapon that way. A lot more stuff will knock your bones out and kill you to death, falling, than people will. That's for sure. Yeah. Down a flight of stairs. You go over there.
It had a short flight, flat part, short flight ground.
And how did it feel to you?
All I remember was I was walking, I was talking to a friend of mine behind me, it was at the movie theater, and I turned to look, and my foot twisted like this, and I caught my shoe, double chipped over myself, and I was like, tucked down, like,
right.
hit the ground and slid.
The edges of stairs become a flat surface, basically.
I was bruised. Had like
right, you have bruises. Sure.
It's still really bad.
Sure. But you think about that flat surface, and those are just ridges on a flat surface that's an inclined plane. Yeah, and it does bruise you up, but you survive. The system of people are nuts. They tie people up into a chair and throw them downstairs. But they're nuts, so anyway. I don't know why I say that. Amazing ukemi.
We have chairs.
Well, we'll
find some. We'll find some.
So, you get really fine ukemi and it'll save your life. You get really fine ukemi and it'll allow you to imprint Aikido in a maximally efficient way, and Aiki in a maximally efficient way, and Judo in a maximally efficient way. You kill the signal interference. You get great ukemi, and you're able to relax in the whole process and not add the interference to the structure. Relaxation is critical. Because as long as we're dealing with our own inner tensions, we're having to also fight that battle, and it puts barriers in the way of going towards the real deep-end stuff. The real deep-end stuff is happening with not foot-pounds of pressures, but ounces. And it's happening with such a relaxed feel in the body that the attack coming at you is a non-event. But to make that attack coming at you be a non-event, you got to be really, really relaxed about it. There's a great story about the great Kito Ryu master, Kato was his name, in the 1800s. And Kato had this sort of profound relaxation in his frame. He had been through the ringer of ukemi, and he'd been through the ringer of kazushi, and he was a profound exponent at just light touch kazushi. And he was out walking one evening, and it's 1800s, and he was out by the castle with his lantern, and he had to stop and urinate. But he pissed in the moat. There's this moat of this castle, and he just stopped to relieve himself. And while he was there, 2 ruffians from a rival jiu-jitsu school had been out on the prowl that evening looking for easy targets to go test their jiu-jitsu. They'd been training on each other for a long time. They were not confident that it actually worked, and they were looking for somebody to pick on. And so they saw a workman coming home from work with his tools, and they thought, oh, he looks a little tough. Maybe he might beat us up, so if it doesn't work, I don't want to pick on him. And they were just prowling around looking for a target. They're predators. These predatory fellows see this old man with his lantern peeing in the moat. And they think, hey, bird nest on the ground, easy pickings. And the two of them jump his ass. And he proceeds to throw him into the moat, which is not particularly remarkable given his skills. But what was remarkable about the story, and I love this story, it's kind of crude, but the stream of his urine did not stop as he did the event of throwing him into the moat. And for men, standing at a urinal in a public bathroom, and you think, oh, I'm being attacked, and see what happens to you. There's a sudden little reflex in you. They go, hmm? So it's even on that level of relaxation we're talking about. You're being attacked, and it's such a non-event that it doesn't even bother you physiologically on that level. That's crazy relaxation.
Yep.
But that's where we're going towards. That's kind of why I try to head toward that when I'm doing these silly demonstrations where we do like the sticky thing, and I'm talking to you, and I'm like just talking and casual and nothing, and I'm messing with the guy at the same time. You'd have to go there and reinforce that a lot until it doesn't matter. You got him, and it ain't a thing. You don't have to throw him. It's his problem. You're just busy doing your thing and see what happens. Cool. That's one of the big secrets, too, is that when you can relax, you're no longer dedicated to the end of the technique. I want to see him go boom. You lose that. When we start, we tend to be addicted to it. We get addicted to the end, the throw, the fall, the slam, the lock, the thing at the end. That's the technique. We get it in our heads. When you're in this perspective, that's incidental. That almost isn't even your problem at all. That's not really any of your business. That's his problem. That's the guy's attacking you. He's going to sort that out on his own. Your job is just to keep giving him a little problem to solve. And you just follow along and give him a little problem to solve, another little problem to solve. And they're insolvable problems. And because they are by nature insolvable problems, they wind up falling. But it's not like you ever throw them. It's not like you ever say, I'm intentionally going to throw this guy. Bam! And you reach in there and throw him. It's like you just keep setting them up until they flush themselves. And that's the real super light stuff. Because it's not a positive energy, effect, transference that's throwing him. It's a lack of energy. It's suddenly there's a void where he cannot exist in a void. He's dependent to such a degree in his balance and mechanism that he reaches for something that just ain't there no more, and it falls off out of nothing. And they're being destroyed by a lack of something rather than a positive something. And so that's where it heads to, this real deep relaxation. And again, hard to ever get there from the Tory perspective. Because Tory's out there pushing and pulling and twisting and grabbing and going to pictures in a book. Tory's busy trying to do this prescription of ideas. Oh, you grab the wrist this way. Now you grab the wrist that way. Now you grab the wrist this way. Now you push the elbow. Now you push the face. Now you block the knee. Tory has all these jobs to do. And they'll probably never get there from here unless they feel it from the uke side and get the insight from the uke side. And so in traditional systems, often you would see, hey, we have a level that's the jitsu level, and then we have the level that's the Aikido Jujitsu, and then the Aikijutsu, is that what they call it? They have like 3 things. And one is the jitsu, which is the mechanics. You're just going to knock the hell out of it. Bam. Pure Tory. And the next one's kind of soft and kind of hard and has a sort of mixture of both. And there's some of the jitsu, and now you're getting the spooky stuff. And the last level, all spooky. And really, that's a fairly reasonable way to put it. We all start out on our levels burning our Aikido, and we have to get the mechanical structures, and we have to get the training time to get to get unbendable arm, to get contact with their body at the right time with their body. Make sure we're organized around our footwork, make sure we're staying off our heels, make sure that our knees are bent, our posture's working correctly. Then we can get more subtle with it. So Dan Martin came in today and said, how do you teach all this stuff standard from the big releases and the big walking and the big throws, and then how do I integrate this into material? And I said, yeah, you start from how we've always started. We do big regular walking, we do big regular releases, we do big regular throws. And over time, we just have these targets that people can start shooting towards to transcend the big mechanical thing and take it into this more woo-woo place. But you don't jump straight in. I mean, I've thrown you all in the deep end of the pool this weekend, but basically, in your regular classes, I really strongly recommend build your foundation out of the system that we've come from. It's a great foundation. Just don't be limited by it. Just don't be stuck in that paradigm as if that's the end-all and be-all. It's the ground level. It's the ground floor where we build the paradigm and we build the skill sets. When we actually start using the skill sets, we find out, hey, I can do this damn near standing still. That's different. Hey, I can do this with this kind of touch where I'm not just pushing and pulling, but I'm actually kind of doing this sticky thing, and that's different. Hey, I can do this really crazy small, or my timing can be really, really spooky here. And you start honing in different qualities that lead to the sensory deprivation thing and the Aikido thing. Cool? So that's sort of the broad brush picture stroke thing that we're after, and why we're doing this, and why I beat you to death with ukemi. Because the more you can get cool with falling, the more you get cool with off balance. The more you get cool with off balance, the more you'll start being able to do off balance and then. The more you can do off balance and then you're pissing in the moat. Yeah, right? That's kind of where we're going. We want to be like Tactile. Yeah. I mean, you know, you can use the bathroom. It's okay. So, questions? Feedback? I talk too much sometimes. I just did. I always know it. Everybody sits there and looks at me. I just talked for half an hour. But I think that's what we were talking about.
Yep.
Your high points of what you were asking?
Yep. Yes, sir.
And it's your high points? Okay. We talked about what you want to talk about? Okay, cool. Because these are the guys that you can blame tonight on if you're like, wow, we had to go in there and do falls the whole hour. Huh? Those three guys. Okay, cool.
I would say one selfish benefit of being really good at falling is when you go to seminars, the teachers tend to throw you a bunch of new field. So do that.
I like to throw everybody, but I like to throw people that are comfortable falling for sure. Yeah. So if anybody wants to feel some off balance and ukemi skills with me, don't hesitate. Come up and ask me. I'll be happy to. I just don't want to presume somebody needs to be thrown and walk over and knock you down and scare the piss out of you. You know? I bring my own guys. I learned that a long time ago. I bring my own guys to these things, and if I'm going to make people go in the air a lot, I make sure I do it to them first, so people can go, whoa, shit, because they're used to it. A lot of places you go, people aren't used to it, and it does. It scares them. A lot of schools, people don't go upside down in the air unless they get ready and jump. And they're used to that. And I learned this. I was in Fayetteville, and I was teaching, and this fella comes in a shiny, he had a real shiny black belt. It was like satin or something, silk or satin, and he was like a sandan and such karate, rah. He was a badass dude. And he's watching me do my Aikido thing. I was about a knee down at the time. But I was kind of a salty knee down. I did a lot of rondori, a lot of hand rondori. And he's watching and says, oh yeah, we do that. I said, really? I think we do it a little different. No, I do just like that. Really? Okay. And he kept doing that, you know. Well, we have that same thing in my system. We do it just like that. Really? Oh, that's fascinating. And you do falling like this? Oh, yes, we fall just like that. That's really, oh, really? That's cool, you know. And I kind of let it go and go and go and go. And we get to Kotegaish. Oh, yeah, we do Kotegaish just like that. Really? Okay. Well, I think we do it a little different. He said, no, it's exactly like we do. And I said, you really do fall. You fall, you know, like this. We showed him what we do. We fall. Oh, yeah. I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you just do your Kotegaish the way you do it. And he hauled off, and I kind of had an intuition. I had a little bit of malice in my heart, I have to confess. I kind of knew just from how he's behaved and his posture and his movement, I kind of knew he was going to grab this wrist and just try to break it. You know, he was just going to bust into it. And I was right. He got a hold of that thing, and he proceeded to do that. And he's just going to tear this completely off of my wrist. And I did what I do in Rondori. I took this back and I put this hand in his face. And I learned at that moment that he lied to me. He probably lied to himself, actually. Because I really believe he thought that he'd do knew how to fall. And what he did is he knew how to fall when he was ready to take a fall. He had done falling when he was get ready, fall. Oh, here it comes, now I get ready, then I fall. He had done falling like that, and he probably done a lot of it. He had not done falling where a sudden, oh shit, happened. And I gave him one of those by doing shomanate as he tried to do kotegaeshi to me. And this arm got long, and his head went back, and he turned into a crumpled paper ball in midair. It was really kind of surreal. I watched it. His whole thing went stretched out long and kind of crumpled up in a ball, and he landed in a heap. I went, oh, I'm sorry. I really thought you could fall. And I did. I felt sorry for him. I did. But I did learn that there's a whole lot of people out there taking falls, doing what they think of as ukemi, that isn't quite the real deal. It's a facsimile. It's a voluntary process of ukemi. This ukemi that we just did tonight goes towards involuntary reflex. You do it so much that there is no conscious get ready at all. So that you go off the top of that pickup truck, or you go off the edge of the 20 inches of concrete, where you fall off the ladder, or you slip in the oil. And there is no get ready. There's no precognition. Nobody called you on the psychic hotline and said, you're taking a fall at 12:22 next morning, you better kind of get ready. You know? There's no get ready. And the world throws you fast. And our ukemi is about that kind of thing. It's about involuntary falling. Not a voluntary process of, oh, I think I'll take my fall now, because it's the role I'm supposed to play. Not that at all. It starts there, but it can't end there to really do the full process. As long as it's not involuntary, the rice isn't cooked, the meal isn't done. You haven't completed the whole picture. You haven't done the maximal job for yourself. So really, really, really invest in ukemi, okay? It's really important. And it's kind of the heart and the center of the whole deal. And it gets overlooked because, you know, that's the part where I'm losing. I fell down, I'm the loser. He's the winner, he's still standing up. I lost again, you know. People associate it with winning, losing. They associate it with the good guy, bad guy. They associate it with a lot of extraneous notions. Your attacks become really clean. They become really clean and pristine. They're just as clean as the actions that Tori's making. Because if your uke is running around making karate actions, and then the other half of the time they're doing cool Aikido stuff, well, the half of the time you're doing karate actions, you ain't doing Aikido. So you really want your uke to be doing Aikido at the same time that they're being uke. You'd like the same clean delivery of energy. You'd like the same grappling feeling. You'd like the same deliveries of energy straight into their center, touching their structure, going straight into their feet, throwing them cleanly as the attacker, as you are as the defender. Tori and uke should have almost perfect symmetry that way. It's just that one has the initiative and the burden of making the moment of attack happen. They've got to step forward and try to get you. Cool. But try not to invest in, oh, like, let's work against the punch for a while. You know? It's okay to do a little of that, just so you feel it. It's all right, but it actually clutters it up. Just the standard attack is dandy. It's about as quick as it gets, and it's about as clean as it gets. Yeah. And the standard attack for stepping forward and dropping into them with a grip, it's about as clean as that gets too. And you can do a little bit of specialized attacking, but that's sort of extra credit, and it's sort of an addendum to it. Don't let it displace it and become your norm. Otherwise, your training values start going down. You're lowering your odds. Cool? That's my advice about ukemi, relaxation, and blah, 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 blah. Cool? I've talked too much. I'm sorry about that. Kept you moving. We probably should have sat and talked after we ate the barbecue. Now that I think about it, I kind of blew it, didn't I?
It'd be nap time then, though.
Yeah, put you all to sleep, have a little milk and juice and cookies and lay down and talk to you. So yeah. Well, I don't know. Everybody,
I don't know what
I've blown it out of the water. Any questions? Any comments? Any feedback at all?
I'll make a comment.
Please do.
doing the ukemi, the practice part, people don't invest a lot of time in it, I think, because it's not sexy. It's boring. It gets repetitive. Learning to stay in that position all the time. But that boring stuff, the repetitiveness, it's like shooting free throws in basketball. Pretty darn important. It pays off when it's time to, and it's not sexy. But it ends up being sexy when you're the one getting thrown. Then you get into the sexy stuff. But the practice, you have to really make yourself do it, because it becomes work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of practice.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work to do that. So don't shy away from it. It gets repetitive and it gets boring, but that's when it's starting to cook for you.
Well put. That's true. Bravo. Thank you. It's hard to force ourselves to invest in. We're lazy people. And I understand. It's okay. This is modernity. This is the world we're living in. We're living in the cushiest part of the human world that's ever existed on planet Earth, and we are profoundly lazy. And if you saw this, did you see the animated thing about the people that, what was it, the robot people? They had the little robots, and then they go up to the place where the people are still living on a big spaceship, and they're all sitting in floating easy chairs with their cup holders. Was that what it was? Wall-E. Yeah, and all the humans, they were all sitting around in the easy chairs. They didn't have to walk anymore. They had these floating chairs. It's like, we're heading there, you know. We're in that path. When we go in an art like this, and we go in art or a craft like this, a jitsu or a do like this, we're going into an anachronism, and we're going to something where people are profoundly physical. And it does ask you or invite you to be profoundly physical. And ukemi is where it happens in this particular paradigm. He's right. It is work. It ain't lazy. It ain't easy. But it does have big payoffs. It will save your ass. And it will provide you the secret pathway into the deep end of the pool, where you can be pretty spooky. Pretty spooky. People lay a hand on you, and you don't have to mess them up, but you can at will, pretty much. You got them, and there ain't much they can do about it. They can mediate a few different kinds of ways. They might just jump back. You know, one of the fellows, he said, "Can we do that in, up, out, down thing, that funny thing where you touched his leg and you collapsed him?" I said, "Sure." And I did in, up, down, and he jumped back. I said, "Well, you know, it can happen that way. Your ass can start to go out from under it, and you can immediately bail on it. But that's creating an interference. He's actually not feeling the whole picture when he does that. He's sort of bailing out prematurely, rather than feel the effects in his posture. So it's not that it will always have that same effect. They can respond in lots of ways. What they can't do is not respond. So you will get different results out of people, but don't be confused by that and think, "Oh, well, it's not working." It is working. It's just working different. If you can force somebody to take a step, it's pretty much as bad as throwing them. If you live in the world where every step people take, you can exploit. Any step they didn't plan to take. That's the very last thing I'll talk about. Then we'll go do something else. When we think about kazushi, kazushi is a Japanese term about affecting people's balance. I want you to think tonight, what is that? What is kazushi? What is the off-balance process to you? Give that a little thought, and tomorrow morning we'll get after it with kazushi, okay? Because there's a lot of ways to sort of define it to ourselves. And I know really profound people that have very simple definitions. I know really beginning type of people that have actually pretty profound definitions. And I like to sort of have a conversation about kazushi, if that's cool.
Yeah.
Cool? So that's your homework tonight. What is this kazushi thing? What is this off-balance thing? What is this weird mechanism stuff that we participate in as ukes and toys? And tell me what occurs to you, okay? Cool? Okay, thank you very much.